Okay, so BMW is placing this massive bet on the future of its factories, and it involves a whole new kind of worker. Now, this isn't some sci-fi fantasy, you know? This is a really calculated business strategy that's playing out right now on the ground in Germany. So let's break down the strategic thinking here. Why is one of the world's biggest automakers betting so big on physical AI?
You know, that quote really just sets the tone perfectly, doesn't it? Hexagon, the company that's actually making these robots for BMW, they're making their philosophy crystal clear. Forget all the flashy demos you see online. For them, this is about one thing, and one thing only: industrial pragmatism. It's just about getting the job done, period.
So that really leads to the central question, right? When you're the one responsible for churning out thousands of high-end cars, what kind of robot do you actually need? I mean, what is a machine that's built for pure, raw utility, not just for a cool video? What does that even look like? Well, the answer to that is right at the heart of BMW's whole strategy.
And here's their answer. BMW is rolling out humanoid robots at its Leipzig plant in Germany. Now, this is a first for the company anywhere in Europe, and believe me, it's a huge signal. The race for physical AI, it's not just happening in North America or East Asia anymore. This move basically puts Europe officially on the clock. The game is on. Okay, so let's look at how they got here. We're talking about the lessons they learned from America and how they de-risked this massive bet with some hard data. Because look, this wasn't some impulsive, crazy leap into the future. If you're thinking like an executive, this is a totally de-risk investment. And how did they do it? Simple. They ran a super rigorous, data-driven pilot program over in the United States first to prove the concept before ever bringing it to their home turf in Germany. Smart. So let's get into the numbers from that US trial, the one in Spartanburg, South Carolina. Check this out. 30,000. The pilot program supported the production of over 30,000 BMW X3s. Let that sink in. This isn't some little lab experiment. We're talking about real-world, high-stakes production volume.
All right, so what about endurance? How long could this thing actually work? 10. The pilot proved the machine could consistently handle 10-hour shifts. Now, for any manager out there who's evaluating automation, that is an absolutely crucial metric. It proves this thing has industrial-grade endurance. It can match a human work schedule day in and day out without breaking a sweat.
And tangible output? I mean, what did it actually accomplish during those shifts? Get this, 90,000. Over the 10-month trial, the robot moved a staggering 90,000 components. We're not talking about theoretical potential anymore. This is a validated business case. The ROI is clear, it's tangible, the numbers, they just speak for themselves.
All right, let's talk about the machine itself. Pragmatism over pizzazz. The AEON robot. All of that success we just talked about, well, it was enabled by this specific machine, the AEON robot, which is built by Hexagon. So now let's really break down the specific design choices that make this a true working robot, and you'll see how pragmatism won out over pizzazz at every single turn.
And this brings us to a core debate, a real executive decision: legs versus wheels. Look, walking robots are incredibly impressive. We've all seen the videos. But Hexagon and BMW, they made a very deliberate choice here. Why? Because for a flat, predictable factory floor, wheels are just, well, they're faster, they're more energy efficient, and frankly, they're way more reliable. It's a classic business decision. You optimize for the actual environment you're in, not for what looks coolest in a demo video.
And you can see how AEON is just built for work when you look at the specs. I mean, every single number here is purpose-built. It's about 1.65 meters tall, weighs 60 kilos. It moves at a pretty brisk 2.5 meters per second. That's moving. It's got 22 integrated sensors, so it has total 360-degree awareness of its surroundings. And the torso is human-like, which is key, because that means it can flexibly use all sorts of different grippers and tools. It's really like a perfectly designed industrial athlete.
But honestly, here's the feature that should make every single operations executive sit up and pay attention. The AEON can swap its own battery completely autonomously in just 23 seconds. Think about that. What does that mean? It means you eliminate human bottlenecks. It means you get true, continuous, around-the-clock operation. In manufacturing, uptime is literally everything, and this feature, it delivers.
Now, let's talk about the unseen digital foundation, because this is where we get into why software really comes first. Look, having a great robot isn't enough, not even close. The hardware, the physical robot, that's just the visible tip of the iceberg.
What's truly revolutionary about what BMW did is the digital foundation they built before a single robot ever rolled onto that factory floor. So, to really understand their strategy, you first have to understand the main villain of this story: data silos. What are they? They're basically isolated pockets of information all across a company's network. They're what stop different systems from talking to each other, from learning from each other, and from operating like one big, smart, unified team. They are the enemy of smart automation. Here's a really powerful way to think about it, and I think this nails it. The robot, that's the car. It's the shiny, cool thing you see. But the unified data platform, that's the entire highway system. That's the real game changer. It's the infrastructure BMW built to make sure all the information is consistent, standardized, and accessible to everyone and everything everywhere. That is what actually allows the AI to be effective. Without the highway, the car is just stuck in traffic. All right, so let's see this strategy in action with their deliberate German rollout. They've validated the business case, right? They've built the digital infrastructure. So now BMW is executing a carefully phased, very strategic rollout. Let's take a look at exactly how this is taking shape at their most advanced plant in Germany.
And just check out this timeline. They're being so methodical, so risk-averse. You've got an initial test coming up at the end of 2025, then a second test run in the spring of 26, and only then, in the summer of 26, do they do the full pilot launch. This is the opposite of a rush job. It's a careful, super deliberate integration plan.
And they've also chosen their first tasks really carefully. The robots are going to be focused on two key areas: high-voltage battery assembly and manufacturing exterior parts. Think about that. This approach is designed to validate their capabilities across the entire production spectrum, from the super high-tech heart of the electric vehicle all the way to the final bodywork and finish.
And here's how you know this isn't just a one-off project. BMW has actually established a Center of Competence for Physical AI. Now, that might sound like corporate speak, but it signals a dead serious institutional commitment. It means they're creating a central hub for all the expertise and all the lessons learned from this pilot, so they can scale it and scale it fast across their entire global organization. This is a big deal.
So let's talk about the race for Europe's factories and the broader implications. Because what does all this really mean for the bigger picture? Well, what's happening at this one BMW plant, it's really a bellwether. It's a signal for the entire European manufacturing sector. The shockwaves from this go way beyond just one car company.
And look, the data absolutely confirms this trend. A recent Deloitte report found that 58% of companies are already using physical AI. But look at this. That number is projected to hit 80% within just 2 years. The takeaway here could not be clearer. This technology is moving at lightning speed from being an early adopter thing to being the industry standard.
And this quote from BMW's board member for production, it just confirms that this vision comes from the absolute top. I love the word he uses: symbiosis. He's not talking about a simple upgrade or a new tool. He sees this as a fundamental merging of engineering and AI, something that's going to unlock completely new ways of building things. This is absolutely core to their vision for the future.
So, when you boil it all down, BMW analyzed the problem, they ran the numbers, and they made a smart, calculated bet. A bet on pragmatic, efficient robots that are backed by a world-class data system. They chose wheels over legs because, well, they chose work over spectacle. And that really leaves just one big question on the table. How is everyone else going to compete?